Hello and welcome everyone to Good Evening Eorzea, your normally fortnightly Final Fantasy XIV podcast. Apologies that the last episode didn't appear. I had some major technical difficulties actually editing the episode. Basically, I edited it twice and it still didn't work, so real apologies for not giving you the job change podcast that you were possibly looking forward to. Those 10 or so people that actually listen to us on YouTube. But since then, we've had a massive new trailer, we've had a live letter, we've had some job interview, we've had some interviews with Yoshi P as well, and we're also in our last show before Shadowbringers, so we're going to talk all things Shadowbringers, we're going to talk lots of new information, lots of things that we're looking forward to, and lots of things we're going to be doing in the meantime. And when I say us, I do also mean that my usual suspect, my usual co-host is here, and it is Mr. Marfy.
Hello everybody. Hello Oisty.
Hello there, Mr. Marfy. How are you today?
I'm good after having just paid out a fortune for my car yesterday, so surprisingly well.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of expense coming for my car in the near future, putting a new radio in. But apart from that, we've got a new car, so that's always
good. Always good.
Yes. So let's get straight into it because I've actually got to go to work this afternoon. I'm not lay about like yourself on a Tuesday. I'm actually having to go to work later on, so I need to get this recorded, get it wrapped up so I can actually go and have a shower and get myself sorted.
Because he stinks.
I do actually. I've taken the dog for a walk this morning.
Did you take the dog or did the dog take you?
No, I always take the dog. The dog doesn't. The dog tries to pull me, but doesn't do successfully at times.
Fair play. Fair play.
So let's dive straight into it. Let's go and do the launch trailer first off.
Ooh, I like that.
So, what do you think about the launch trailer?
Well, apart from the fact that it made my waning hype jump up to the roof again, absolutely fantastic launch trailer. The best one they've done yet. Although, is that just because it's something new? Not sure. There was lots of lore things in there.
Yeah, there's lots of lore in there, and it does seem to be the common consensus around a lot of the community. A lot of the podcasts I listened to, so I listened to State of Realm yesterday, and they were saying that they think that it's the best launch trailer that has been done since the start of Final Fantasy XIV. It was better than Realm Reborn, it was better than Heavensward, better than Stormblood. And they were really surprised it actually came out when it did. But I think because of when E3 was compared to when launch is, it just made sense for it to come out then.
Well, they've got to keep that hype going, haven't they?
Yeah, and it normally comes out so like when launch happens. So it's normally released kind of during that down period between the game going down for maintenance and then coming back up for early access, just to try and build that hype for that last 24 hours. But I think this has definitely built hype more, and I think they've really changed their marketing strategy, I feel. When it comes to Shadowbringers, just it seems to be a much more consistent burn when it comes to stuff being released for us to digest, for us to actually look through and have hype for. Whereas with Stormblood, you had the fan fests, then you had something in the April when they did the tie-in with WWE for WrestleMania, and then it kind of died off until just before Stormblood.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, it seems to be a lot more consistent burn. And I think they've done a better marketing job in terms of what they're going to use to do the adverts for, compared to what they did for Stormblood. Just did you watch the advert?
I did watch the advert, yeah.
Discord?
I did watch it.
Like, there are pictures on his Instagram of him wearing 14 merchandise.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so people are wondering whether or not, and if you don't know what we're talking about, so Square Enix have managed to get Tom Holland and an American comedian, I don't know his name, to do an advert for Shadowbringers. And Tom Holland's Instagram does have him in 14 merchandise, so people are wondering whether or not he actually plays the game.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell from that short advert, but it was good. I did enjoy it.
Definitely different.
Yeah, it was very reminiscent of the Omega April Fool's thing they put out. It was that in exactly the same sort of style, I think. Did you see that one?
Yeah, where the Omega Home Assistant.
Yeah, yeah. I so want one.
Yeah, so let's forget about the advert. Just the advert didn't bring anything new, apart from Tom Holland is able to wield a Dark Knight sword pretty well. The actual launch trailer. So if you haven't seen it, we'll go through bits and pieces that do kind of stand out. So first bit that stood out to me is basically the end bit of the trailer.
It's like the first bit that stood out to me is the end.
Yeah,
It was the big drop, wasn't it?
it is, and it has been speculated before that Hydaelyn and Zodiac are primals, and from looking at some of the other lore videos that's been dotted about since then, it seems to be that when they were first summoned, that is what caused the sundering.
Yeah, the sundering. So as far as I can tell from what's been shown, they were originally one entity, if you like, or maybe an idea rather than anything.
So Hydaelyn's never really been... So Zodiac is not revered or worshipped. I'd say they're the wrong words. Hydaelyn never really has. Just on the source, people worship the 12. They don't really worship Hydaelyn.
No.
It's only very specific subsets of people that worship Hydaelyn, such as the Scions, the Warrior of Light, etc. So they do appear to be either part of a whole or part of a collective, or as one being. And then when they split, so when Hydaelyn and Zodiac became separate entities, that's when the sundering happened, and that's when we got split into the 13 shards.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just watching it, it seemed like, to me, that there was this one idea, which was the combined, what did they call it? What was the combination they used?
There's Hydiarch,
Zodalin.
Zodalin, Hydiarch. There's different types of... They've basically just mashed the names together. Yeah, there's cave paintings.
Yeah.
Where you see people or symbols of people worshipping something, and then later on in the cave paintings, the people are split into light and dark, or I don't really want to say what they look like because I'll probably get demonetized, but basically they then get split into people worshipping Hydaelyn and people worshipping Zodiac, or people worshipping specific beliefs or ideas about this whole. So it could have been that this whole was one thing, and then much like in many religions, kind of two different ideologies come out of it.
I think it's people, the people's interpretations of the way things should be. Sort of like, I don't want to necessarily say good and evil, because I completely believe that when we see the one sect versus the other sect in the cave paintings, the light people and the dark people, it's kind of they're not necessarily both evil, both good and evil and stuff like that. So
yeah, they probably think that their side is good and the other side is not good.
Yeah,
I wouldn't, like you say, not necessarily evil, but not of the same beliefs. And then because of that divide, and probably it's the strength of belief, because the way that the primals are summoned is they prayed for and they're chanted and the ether's focused and things like that. They've then become into being, which has then split and sundered the 13 shards.
Yeah, I think it's probably quite easy to believe that was very, very densely populated with not humans, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that amount of ether, because it was brand new, that amount of power, and then dividing, it sort of like summoned these things as two separate entities, and then the only way to do things was to have the sundering. I guess that's what caused it.
I think just them coming into being is what caused the sundering. I think just
right. Yeah. I see what you mean.
Manifesting the power and the energy that of them manifesting split the shards.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've got a question for you about that. Where do you think those cave paintings are?
I have no idea, to be honest. I mean, it could be like within the Ronkan temples or something.
Yeah. So I initially thought, and I've literally just realised that this can't be true. I initially thought this was going to be on the source, so I thought this was going to be underneath the Crystal Tower.
Right. Okay.
But then I've suddenly remembered you're walking along with like Thancred and Minfilia
Y'shtola.
and Ishtora, so it can't be on the source. So it is definitely on the first. Just I thought this might have been so like the big. Just we talked about 4.55 and 4.57 being a bit of a letdown in terms of like.
Yeah, but I think now I understand why it's gone that way.
Well, there was an interview, and there's been lots of JP. There's been lots of interviews from A3. There was like Dengeki, Game Escape, 4chan. There's been lots of different interviews, and one of the questions that did get asked was about leaving the end of the expansion at the end of Stormblood on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And they turned around and said that because they did it in The Realm Reborn, because they did it in Heaven's Ward,
Yeah.
they didn't want to do it in Stormblood.
Right. Okay.
However, they've got a lot of feedback about the fact that people didn't like it because it kind of wrapped everything neatly in a bow.
Yeah.
And people didn't like it. So they've taken that on board and they have turned around and said that Shadowbringers will end with a cliffhanger. Now, whether or not that's 5.0 will end with a cliffhanger, or whether or not it's going to be 5.57 when that gets released in like February 2021.
That's a scary thought. Let's get through Shadowbringers first.
Yeah. Whether or not, depending on which one of those they do, but I think Stormblood did get wrapped up too neatly in a bow. Yes, all right. The ending was us going into the Crystal Tower to find this thing at the bottom of the Crystal Tower, but it kind of so like it's going to be a very neat start of the story. So I thought if this was on the source as like the big bang at the beginning of the expansion.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, they've just got to do it and just keep things fresh and entertaining, but they need to make you want more. So
yeah, but I think it is going to be somewhere in the Raktika Greatwood. I think it is going to be what was the ruins of the Ronkin Empire.
Yeah, I think so. Because I'm quite sure that they did say that there were cave paintings on the source, but they were so like basically destroyed and broken up that that's just a hint of things. There was nothing that predates that. Is it the first Umbral era or Astral era?
Yes.
You can't find any information for that because everything was just obliterated.
Yeah. The only other place I can think that it could be would be in, and it's the place we always forget the name of.
Google Live on Air?
It's what I'm doing. It's where's it gone? Coliseum.
Calusia.
It's where the dwarfs are.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's either in the Raktik. The only two places I know to not is Ilmeg and Lakeland.
What we have to see is definitely in some kind of caves or caverns or something. So
Raktika, Greatwood makes sense. Amareng makes sense.
Yeah.
Calusia makes sense. I think it depends on where it sits in the story, because Lakeland is definitely going to be area number 1.
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
it's right
we know
next
that.
to
That's going to be the hub.
Yeah. It's going to be the
where the
area
hub
next
sits.
to the hub. Yeah. Then you're going to have Ilmeg.
Yeah.
Because the level 63 dungeon and the level 63 trial are in Ilmeg. And then you don't know where Raktika, Amareng and Calusia are going to fit from there.
Yeah, I don't want to know at the minute anyway. I'm looking forward to... You've got to give me some something to look forward to.
Yeah. If anything, I think it'll go Lakeland, Ilmeg, Vaktika, Calusia, Amareng, back to Lakeland, and I'll explain my reasoning why
I
in a
know.
moment.
I think I know why.
Yeah, and then the final area is going to be, I think, very, very different to any area we've seen before.
Yeah. Well, let's hope so.
Yeah. So, we'll go through a little bit more of the lore trailer. So you do see some of the other antagonists
Yeah.
throughout the actual trailer itself. So you see, and I'm going to have to get the live letter because it's not on the special site. So scroll all the way down. So you've got you see Vorthri and Ranjit.
Yeah. Yeah, they're quite interesting. Yeah. Vorthri's definitely based off Jabba the Hutt from Star Wars.
Yeah, and Ranjit. People are unsure who Ranjit's going to be.
I think he seems very similar to Thancred.
I think he's either going to be a very stern part of the Resistance, or he's going to be kind of sort of like a enforcer in Yulmar. So
yeah.
We see Vorthri as the leader of Yulmar. He's in charge of Yulmar, and in Yulmar, we kind of thought of it going to be kind of like the place where the burning of Rome, the sacking of Rome, where basically they have just a giant party waiting for the end, and it's not that at all. It seems to be that the people of Yulmar have made a pact with the Sin Eaters.
Yeah, they've kind of found a way to, through what looks like sacrificial offerings, kind of almost keep them as pets. Like, especially in Vorthri's case.
Yeah, I don't think it's more of a pet. I think pets is a bit of a strong word. I think they coexist. I think they're there to protect Vorthri. Just Vorthri doesn't look human.
No, he does. Yeah, he's got a bit of a weird thing going on, and the best mullet ever.
So he's definitely a magic user. Just we see him casting a spell in the trailer. He's definitely part human, part Sin Eater. I think is going to be, or his body has been corrupted by the ether.
Yeah, probably. That seems
so. There's that, and basically, from what we can tell, we thought that obviously the people at the bottom. I thought that was going to be a situation where it's like the people in the slums would be taken up if they were a pretty girl or a useful male person who would be able to be a servant or be able to use brute strength or things like that. It doesn't seem to be that way. It seems to be that the people from the slums are going to be taken up as a case of, oh look, you've won the lottery, you can come up and stay in this wonderful place, and then they get fed to the Sin Eaters.
Yeah. Oh, I'm moving up to better things, and everyone thinks like that in the slums.
Yeah. Do you know what reminds me of? Have you ever seen the Michael Bay film with Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson?
Yes.
Called The Island.
Yes, I have.
It reminds me of that.
Yeah, that was quite a good film, actually.
Yeah, it was very surprising for a Michael Bay film.
No explosions. Or not many.
Not many. Well,
there was a few.
Yeah. So, you see Vorthri, you see Ranjit, you also see Titania a little bit, and you see her a bit more in the live letter, so we'll save that for the live letter. In the live letter at the beginning, you also see the dungeon crawl.
Yeah.
So you see lots of different dungeons.
Oh, yeah. I remember seeing that.
Yeah. Now, in the trailer, in the launch trailer, you also see Innocence.
You do indeed.
Now, from the looks of it, there's a dungeon in which will probably be the 67 dungeon that takes place around about the same area that the level 67 trial is taking place, which is going to be Innocence, or the 77 dungeon and trial.
Yeah.
Now, it looks as though the Innocence fight takes place at the Crystal Tower.
That's how it looks, and that's what I think it's probably most likely.
Yeah. So I think we're going to head back to the Crystarium because the Crystarium does get attacked and the Crystarium is on fire.
Yeah.
And I think that's Innocence attempting to break the resistance.
Yeah, I mean, some people have speculated that it might be Innocence trying to get to the source.
It could well be as well. But I think you're going to fight Innocence, defeat them at the top of the Crystal Tower, and then you're going to have a portal to the last area.
Maybe.
And the last area is going to be... So, in the dungeon walkthrough, you see a very marble white dungeon.
Yeah, it's sort of like a beigey kind of surroundings, but the actual temple place, whatever itself, looks very like pristine white.
Yeah. So I think that's the 79 dungeon.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be sort of like where the last bit of the expansion is.
Yeah, it'd be nice. That is quite different, I suppose. It looked really cool, actually.
Yeah, the only problem is that when I think back, like Azizlar and the Locks, which are the last areas in Heavensward and Stormblood, I don't you unlock them after the 79, after the 59 and the 69 dungeon. So it'll be interesting to see how they do it, but I think that's kind of sort of like the logical process.
Yeah, I don't know. At this point, I just want to play the blimmin' game.
Yeah. Well, obviously we are 8 days away, 9 days away.
So close.
Yeah. I mean, we're both at work on Friday the 28th, which is launch day.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I finish at 4:30. I'll probably not get on until late evening. But expect to see content that week from me anyway. I'm going to be doing a video each morning after release of what I did the previous day and what I found and my impressions so far. And expect a day zero video, so like the Wednesday, Thursday, just to say what I've done to prep everything.
And I've got to redo my tank guide, so expect to see that coming out pretty soon for the lower leveled people among us that need to know how the new tank system's going to work.
Yes.
And also, I'll be streaming, so.
Ooh, are you actually going to stream?
I'm going to stream my my gameplay story wise.
I may stream. It'll all depend on whether or not we're going to be chatting. Because if we're going to be chatting, I'm going to have to. I'd be streaming from my computer via my PlayStation. If we're chatting, we'd be chatting on PlayStation. So I'm not too sure how that'll pick everything up. Or Discord, I'll have to have wires trailing about. So I'll probably stream, but I'm not too sure how.
Yeah, well, if it's streaming via PlayStation chat, then that's fine by me because I'll be streaming on my PlayStation.
No worries. Sorry about that. I just kicked something. Right.
Wasn't the cat, was it?
No, it wasn't the cat this time. Couple of other bits and pieces that came from the launch trailer. Unsurprisingly, we get a Vieira dancer main character. Well, that's a surprise.
What was the name?
Lina.
Lina, that's it.
Lina. Yeah. Lina or Lina.
Lyana.
Lyna.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lina. Trying to think if there's anything else in the launch trailer.
The little fairy person.
Was she in the trailer?
Yes, very, very, very briefly with the Exarch.
Right, so that's Theo Yule. She's going to be a very important part of the storyline, so I'd imagine I think she'll kind of be the Shadowbringers equivalent of Soroban.
Yeah, I'd say so because she's Beast Tribe Fae, isn't she? So
she'll kind of guide us through those first like few levels, the first up to the trial probably.
Yeah.
And yeah, we see that we do actually finally get a name for him, so he's called the Crystal Exarch.
Who would have thought Crystal would have been in the name?
Yeah, that's literally all we find out about him. He's the de facto leader of the Crystarium.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. Also in the trailer, we see that Gaius and Estinian are going to still be part of the main story quest.
Yes. Yeah, that was
We
good.
do see them. We see Eden.
Ah, yes. Very reminiscent of Final Fantasy VIII.
Yeah, we do see a little short snippet of Eden.
Casting an eternal breath.
Yes. So it'll be interesting to see what Eden actually is or does.
Yeah, I don't want to. I mean, I've heard a few little ideas and stuff, but I don't really want to go into it too much because I really want to see that fresh and don't go in with any preconceived ideas.
Yeah. So the two kind of screenshots that you see in the live letter of Eden seems to be a big ship that's been buried.
Yeah, it looked weird, didn't it? It's like the top, either like the top of a ship or like a mechanical kind of head buried in the sand or something. I don't know.
So I've got two theories. I either think that Eden is going to be the thing that's taken all of the elements of the world out, and you've got to defeat the different flaws in order to get to the heart to release them all. Or it's kind of going to be the opposite of it, where Eden's a machine that's going to bring them all back, and you've got to fight through the different flaws in order to get to the core to turn it back on.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a bit like Alexander in a sense. He's not exactly a bad thing, but you need to help, sort of thing. So Eden's trying to do these things, but is it corrupted by something that you need to fight off?
I think the main design behind it's probably going to be very similar. I think it's just going to be how they make the storyline for it.
Yeah, well, the only reason I'm saying Alexander is because I've only just started doing the Alexander stuff. Really enjoying it as well.
It's always good. I'm halfway through Alexander, so I've still got 6 floors to go.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much the same.
Yeah, but it's definitely low on my to-do list these coming weeks.
Yeah, another interesting thing I found with the launch trailer, the lore trailer, was where Miniphilia walks up to Minphilia.
Yeah. So we're not too sure if that is actual Minphilia or if it's the Minphilia version of the word of the mother.
Yeah.
So it could be a representation that's taken the form of Minphilia, with Miniphilia there also. I'm just not too sure what Miniphilia's role is going to be.
I don't know.
Now
I kind of just, for some reason, I kind of thought it was going to play out differently. That was going to be Minphilia.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did, and it's one of these things that the more that we talk about and the more that I think about, the more I'm really looking forward to enjoying the Shadowbringers story.
They should have called it a Minphilia Reborn.
No, because that would mean that we'd always be back at the Waking Sands.
Pray return. You know what? Pray off.
Well, you see Eorzea nice little house in the launch trailer, which is probably going to be the first version of the Waking Sands.
Oh, please no. Or is it the Waking Sands, the Rising Stones?
Rising Stones.
What's this one going to be? The Falling Rocks.
We just don't know.
Pray return to the Falling Rocks.
So that's kind of a lot of the lore trailer. We're not lore enthusiasts. We don't know a great amount about the lore, in terms of what is exactly happening. But we've tried to be as succinct as possible.
If you want to watch a really good video, go on to Ethys's channel on YouTube. He done a 2-hour video and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. It's just a long video.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll go into the live letter.
Yes.
So live letter started off with the dungeon crawl, which we've already had a chat about. If you haven't seen the dungeon crawl, go and watch it. Some of the dungeons look amazing.
They do look good.
definitely make you want to go and do the dungeons. Soaking the songs in there are great as well. They then went straight into the Dancing Plague, which is the 73 dungeon. So I think the reason they've been able to go straight into this is the fact that at E3 you were actually able to play it on the floor.
Yes.
So people have had experience of actually playing it.
Yep. Yeah, because they had that T-shirt, didn't they?
Yeah. They showed you the chocobos of the first, which are Amaros.
I'm so hoping they make them companions. They won't, but
They won't.
it'd be.
But they look cool.
We need more companions. I like my chocobo, but
So the level 73 trial is Titania. It's the Dancing Plague. They went in and showed you it. So about 30% of the people at E3 cleared Titania.
and they got a cool T-shirt.
They did get a cool T-shirt. I want to know: are you concerned that if 30% of the people at E3 beat Titania, which was just story mode, that there's going to be enough people that's able to complete it actually in game?
No, I think it'll be fine. I don't think it's going to be that difficult. As I know they said about 30% of people cleared it and stuff, but I think a lot of people are like more journalist kind of thing, like people in there.
I wonder how many people have went and tried to beat Titania that have never played 14 before.
That, and maybe just because of the job changes and they didn't get to test the job changes out and they've just tried to play their classes as normal and thought, hang on a sec, where's this gone?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's kind of it. So I think it's going to be fine come launch. I think it's people who have never played 14 before and weren't able to do it, people who haven't had a chance to play their job, and the fact that 30% of people did clear it. So you've got to bear in mind, if they've got 8 machines set up and say they have half an hour, 40 minutes to try and beat it, just you don't know how long each person's able to stay around for. That's still quite a large amount of people that will have completed it.
Yeah, no, I honestly believe it's because, like you said, either people have never played it before or they're just not used to the new systems.
Yeah. The arena looks nice. Arena's got fences.
We all know what that means.
Yep, it means that at some point the arena's going to go up in the air and the fences are going to disappear, or the fences are going to stay there and on extreme the fences are going to disappear.
But in your defense here, you've got that new ability for Red Mage, which means you don't have to backflip off.
In my defense, I'm not going to play through this as a Red Mage. I am playing through the main story quest as either a machinist, a summoner, or a dancer.
Yeah. And
haven't decided yet.
And I'm still thinking maybe White Mage.
Yeah. The only reason I'm thinking about playing through it as a summoner, bearing in mind I have not main summoner ever, is the fact that I don't want to have to level Scholar separately.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. You go through as summon, I'll go through as Scholar.
No.
He doesn't trust me as Scholar.
I'm just about trusting you as a White Mage.
I'll get it better. Yeah, don't trust me as Scholar. I'm an awful Scholar.
No. If and that's my only thinking, because it'll mean that if needs be, if I am get stuck in a dungeon queue, I can just jump to Scholar and heal the dungeon, and blag my way through the dungeon as best as possible.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, we do have trusts.
Yeah, true enough. I mean, I want to go through first with the trusts rather than to a point, because, or maybe second, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine going through the second time. I think it all depends on what you want, because I don't think there'll be as much additional bits that the trust will bring to the dungeon compared to time.
Well, I think the way I'll look at it is, if there's people on that I can play with, then I'll do it like that. But if there's not, then I'll go with the trusts. It's as simple.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Keep it simple.
Yeah. So he does show you a bit of gameplay fighting Titania. Obviously, he does use God mode, so he's not getting hit by these things. They then showed off a little mechanic. So 4 puddles appear on the floor with a time around them. It looks as though you've just got to go stand in the puddles to stop an ad spawning.
Yeah.
And then the ads obviously spawn because there's one of him. And then he gets hit by a stack AoE.
A giant fist.
Yep, a giant falling flaming fist, and that unfortunately does one-shot him.
Yeah, God mode. Your God mode failed.
So that's obviously going to be something that does just one-shot everyone. Yeah. So a lot of the attacks in there do involve pixies and fairies, and that was kind of it for Titania. It's going to be story mode on the level 73. It will probably be an extreme level 80 trial, which will drop weapons. I think that one will drop the weapons.
Which I'm definitely excited to try, actually.
Yeah. I think trying the extreme versions will be quite useful. The weapons will probably be better than what you'll be able to buy with the Gotia tomestones, which we'll come on to later. But they'll be worse than the weapons that you can get through Eden and the Savage Raids.
Yep.
So they then talk about the trusts. So trusts, there's 6 trusts that you can have. There's Thancred, who is a gunbreaker. There is Alicey, who is a red mage. There is Eorzea, who is an astrologian. And then you've got
Alfie.
Ishtola. You've got Ishtola, who's a witch.
Glorified black mage.
Yeah. You've got Alphino, who's a academician.
Yes, scholar kind of summoner combination.
Yeah, academician. And you've got Miniphilia, who isn't a rogue, isn't a ninja. She is an oracle of light.
Yeah, so glorified ninja.
So yeah, academician is Alphino's job. Some characters have unique jobs, hence the academician, hence the witch, and they do also have specific actions.
Yes.
So they do have their own unique actions. They do advise about the fact that each NPC comes with their own unique AI.
Which I really like this.
Yeah, so it's later on in the live letter, so they do talk about limit breaks. So Minphilia, or Miniphilia, will allow you to use the limit break if you are a DPS and you pick Miniphilia to come in with you.
Uh-huh.
If you've got Alicey with you, Alicey doesn't care, and as soon as the limit break bar fills, she will use the limit break.
I just love the way they're kind of adjusting the AI based on their kind of their attitude.
Yes.
Like, you know, because Alicey, she is just a complete impulse-driven, you know, woman. And yeah, they were saying as soon as that limit break hits, she's using it. She don't care if you're a DPS.
Yeah. Couple of other things about the trust. So they do have unique interactions between each other, but they are minimal.
Mm-hmm.
When running dungeons, the item drop rate is down to a quarter. So instead of getting, say, 10 pieces, 12 pieces of gear, you might get 2 or 3.
Which I think's fair.
It's still good.
It is good, but it's
still a decent rate of getting gear.
Yeah.
Playing with players is still going to be optimal for time versus experience.
Yeah.
Because it does take around about 30 minutes to finish a dungeon with the trusts. They got to the second boss in Dom Meg and it took them about 13-14 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where they are with that.
I like the fact that they said if you get stuck on mechanics and stuff, you can just follow the NPCs because they will.
Yeah, they do the mechanics correctly.
Yeah, so if you're like, oh, what do we do? It's just like, oh, watch Eorzea. He'll tell you.
Yeah.
If you die, then they don't raise you. You go back to the beginning.
Yes, that's a very important point. So if you die, you can't be raised. If they die, they can be raised.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not too sure why, but it is what it is.
I think I would have preferred it if they could have got you up.
Yeah. Not going to talk too much about the Gathering and Crafters unless you want to.
To be honest, there wasn't a lot to go on. It's just that we're getting white scripts.
Yeah, white scripts instead of the red and yellow.
Yeah.
New information is going to be added via Tomes of Regional Folklore,
Yeah.
which we were expecting.
But they're also dropping the prices of folklore stuff, which is much needed.
Yes. Unspoiled Legendary Imperial Gathering Point appearance timers, so you can actually get in-game alarms for them now.
Yeah.
Instead of having to sort of like set them up.
Again, I mean, it wasn't too difficult if you've got a decent mobile, but
yes,
it will be much better in-game.
Yeah, it just saves you having to use additional things.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's basically all I've seen so far is, obviously, apart from the new scripts, is just they're just making things slightly easier.
Yeah. Same with crafting. So crafting, Steady Hand 2 and Byrogot's Blessing are now going to be added to every class, so you don't have to do Culinary into 37 and Carpenter to
which
50.
I've just done.
Haha. The new UI for crafting looks much improved.
Yeah, the new UI is just keeps everything consolidated, so there's not a lot of flicking around everywhere. And
yeah, the fact that it tells you what the base increase is going to be for progress and quality.
Yeah.
The much easier for you to keep an eye on what buffs you've got. It's just much easier. The maximum initial quality limit is going to be raised from 50 to 75 for high quality.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a massive thing.
It's good. It is good.
That's for 5.0 recipes only, though. The master books are going to be easy to maintain. They were wanting to talk about materia, but then changed their mind.
Yeah, I think there's still quite a lot of changed with materia, I think.
I just think there's going to be a couple of new ones.
Yeah.
Maybe. They showed off the new gear sets for gatherers and crafters. Not really much to say.
No.
The Weaver still looks ridiculous.
The Weaver's, yeah, I mean, it's not that much different to what we've already got.
Yeah.
It's not fancy.
No. Well, the Weaver
is, but the Weaver's always been fancy, so.
Yeah. Obviously, system updates, the patch notes are going to be out probably the Wednesday or Thursday before release. So they didn't go into full details. However, they are 2 new tomestones, which we were expecting.
Yep.
So you've got the Tomestone of Gutia and the Tomestone of Phantasmagoria.
Just reminds me of that really old cartoony thing, which was called Phantasmagory.
Right.
But that's completely unrelated. Just reminds me of it.
So Gutia is going to be added at release. So that's going to be what you use to get the equivalent of the Alamegan armor, which was the Tomestones of Verity. Going all the way back to the start of Stormblood, which was the 310 armor, which was better than the artifact gear you got, worse than the but worse than both the Delta Scape as well as the next gear.
Yeah.
Phantasmagoria is going to launch 4 weeks after launch, which is going to be when Eden
Savage comes out. Yeah.
It's going to have the 450 cap as always, and it's going to be able to buy you what is basically the equivalent of Lost Allegan gear from Stormblood, which is what you use Tomestones of Creation for. So at the time it was 330.
Yeah, so now you just get them with the Centurio seals.
Yes. New Gatherer scripts, so white Gatherer scripts. Glamour dresses increase from 200 to 400, while plates are going up 10 to 15. They showed off a new mount, so there's a robot frog mount, which they said is going to be difficult.
They showed 2, didn't they?
Yeah, and then they showed you the Gunbreaker mount.
Yeah, I was not impressed.
Which is a saber-tooth tiger.
Until I see it with its armour.
Yes.
I
want to see the armour version.
Yeah, because it kind of reminded... If it was green, it would remind me of Battle Cat from He-Man.
Yes. more nouns. Every man can now fly.
Great.
Every man
Because
can now
mounts
fly.
don't look stupid when they can fly.
Yeah. They did have some a little bit of chat about turbulences, so I'm
Oh,
wondering whether
yeah.
or not that's been untranslated to for the ether currents. How's an update demonstration,
Thank goodness.
which we know our friend Jazz will have great use for.
He's wanted that since A Realm Reborn.
Um, they then showed off bits and pieces from the design contest.
Or the log.
So yeah, the log, um, I'm trying to think,
Uh, the
like the bench which you can dye, so it actually show. So
Oh,
you can actually,
the sunbed.
yeah, so you can actually see what it looks like dyed as well. So we then got shown the Ronkin gear, which I do actually quite like. So you got shown the scouting gear. Well, I thought it was an issue with scouting gear, but on closer inspection, I think it's actually the aiming gear.
Yeah, because they look like boomerangs.
Yes. So Ethos will be really happy because he's got boomerangs.
Yeah, he does like his
Um,
boomerangs.
Yes. Then you see the tank with the gunblade, and then the healer gear and the Astrologian's Astro Glove. I don't know if this is going to be the equivalent of Alamegan armor, or if this is just going to be gear from the Vactita Greatwood dungeon.
Probably just the dungeon gear, I'd think.
That's all. I hope I actually like it. I actually don't mind it. I don't think the aiming gear looks right for a machinist.
No, but
But that's where glamour comes in.
yeah, I mean, it's the gunblade stuff that I'm not over keen on.
Yeah, but I think when I'm saying about it not being suitable for machinists, I think it's something that they ran into a lot in Stormblood with regards to the striking gear that a samurai and a monk shared.
Yeah,
I think a lot of the striking gear was designed more for samurai than for monk.
well, yeah, I mean, it was the new thing, wasn't it? So
Yeah. They then go into some additional system updates. I'm not overly that fussed about talking about them. Mentor certification is basically exactly the same, apart from the fact that you've got to do them at level 80 now.
yeah,
They talked a little about Eden, but they didn't talk about it too much.
I
Or
quite like the stuff that they're doing with the S rank monsters and the B rank monsters. That was pretty good.
yeah, the fact that you get a notification now, so
Yeah,
it does actually give you um, the B ranks you will be told kind of where they are, and the S ranks when one of them spawns, a message will actually be displayed.
yeah, you'll just know that they're there somewhere.
Yeah, which will be useful if you're not in a hunting shell.
Yeah,
They then talked about the different characters, so you get a bit more information about Thancred, Ishtola, Urianger, Alphinaud, and Alasay, Minfilia, the Crystal Exarch, Solus, Volfrey, Ranjit, Lena, Fee, Ul. So that was kind of it. They did say that they have started putting the solo instances in more of a queuing system to try and prevent the bottleneck that Rabun X was.
yeah.
There's a new dungeon coming, which is like Gear, which is the new treasure map dungeon. That's coming in 5.05.
Yes.
That will be on July 30th, along with Eden Savage and the Tombstones of Phantasmagoria.
I do love my maps.
You do love your maps. And EU data centers got Spriggan on the Chaos data center and Twintania on the Light data center. They got added yesterday. So if you want a 3 million gil, go over there.
Yep.
But apart from that, that's kind of the live letter. It was still a really long live letter. The live letter still clocked in at around about 3 hours.
Yeah, it was still a good long one.
Yeah, despite it not being as meaty as what the previous one was.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of talking between them, wasn't there? Just joking around and stuff.
There was. So the last little bit of a show is just going to be kind of what we're going to be doing come the last few days before Shadowbringers, and then what we're actually going to do come Shadowbringers launch.
Yeah, so I mean, I think my plan is I'm still leveling up my white mage, and I think I am probably gonna heal through Shadowbringers as main rather than do the tanking that I was gonna.
Right.
I mean, the biggest thing for me was the fact that we got in our FC at the minute we've got so many tanks.
We've got a lot of tanks, and we've got lots of machinists.
People jumping on that machine bandwagon.
I know.
But I'm going to do that. So this next week is going to be getting my white mage up to level 70, which is only 10 more levels. Getting gear, learning how to heal, and yeah, just I don't know, finishing tying up a few loose ends. Really?
Right. I mean, yeah, mine's kind of sort of like tying up loose ends as well. I'm gonna see if I can get my machinist relic finished. I've got up to 385. I've got 3 lines of stats on at the minute, so I'm off work on Sunday. My other half's at work, so I might try and get some grinding in lightwise, just to try and get some substats, get the 5 lines of substats. And just basically, as long as I get more than 600 substats with minimal skill speed on there, it'll be better as a 4 or 5 weapon than what the Omega weapon is. And then it'll just be a case of trying to finish it off in Hydatos. If I get it done, great. If I don't, I'll just buy the eye level 400 come the launch of Shadowbringers. Just my kind of playthrough of Shadowbringers is kind of slightly dependent on what you're doing. So like we say, if you did decide to go Gunbreaker, I would go and grab Dancer. We'd level those together for the first couple of days before we start the main story quest. Whereas if you're gonna go healer, I'm gonna use my machinist and go for the main story quest. And it'll probably mean that the amount of playtime that we've got the Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then the Tuesday before we record, because that's when our next show is going to be, the Tuesday of release, which will be actual full access, and I think there'll be maintenance that day, which will probably coincide with when we actually record.
Which will be, I think it'd be more beneficial if we did it that way, instead of spending time leveling up these. Although I want to do it, and you want to do it, it just makes more sense from this aspect of it, the podcasts and the videos and things like that, if we just go through the main story, because I'm quite happy to. I'm not missing out because I can go and pick up Gunbreaker in my free time. So
exactly, and I can pick up Dance in my free time. And one of the things that I'm waiting to see is they haven't announced a deep dungeon yet.
No, I'm quite surprised. They haven't even said anything, have they?
No. So if there's a deep dungeon, great. You'll be able to level your characters up to level 80 that way, much like you can use Heaven on High and Palace of the Dead previously. But because there's the trust system, it used to be that it used to be the case of dungeon spam versus Heaven on High spam, and the amount of time versus experience. So if you're a DPS, it was much easier to go into Heaven on High, because the experience, while lower than a dungeon run, over time was actually better because of the queue times. Tank and healer, you would always go into the dungeons. In Shadowbringers, DPS in the queue for dungeons might not be too bad because of the trust system, but you're still taking half an hour. So a real good run of Heaven on High might have been 15 minutes, and a trust version will be 30 minutes in a dungeon. So will the experience you get from a dungeon be worth 2 runs of the deep dungeon?
It's all going to depend on how fast you can get the dungeons done. I know it's going to be faster, but how much faster?
Yes. And you're not going to be able to do massive pulls in the dungeons, because either Thancred's not going to do it, or Eorzea or Alphino's not going to heal you enough if you're tanking it. But in fairness, if you're tanking the dungeons, you may as well just queue human to human, which will be much easier. So it's still going to be the thing of, is whatever deep dungeon comes out, if there is one, is 2 runs of the deep dungeon going to be better than 1 trust run of a dungeon?
That is the question.
Yeah. But apart from that, the plan is to try and get through as much of the MSQ as possible by the Tuesday, and then finish off the MSQ probably in that week because I'm off work and I want to try and get it done before I go back to work. We are tentatively going to plan on recording on the 16th, which would be the next show after release, which is also when Eden comes out. The tentative plan is to wait for maintenance, get Eden completed, as much of an FC as we possibly can, have done things in the meantime such as gear up as best as we can, try and get the weapon from Titania. There's going to be so many times that she gets called Quintania. So many times.
Yeah, it's easy to get confused.
As well as the accessories from Innocence, because Innocence is probably going to drop accessories equal to the eye level that Eden will drop, which in Stormblood's case was 320. So there's that as well. Do the Eden raids, because Eden loot changes Eden loot has changed as well, which we'll talk about. So like when Eden launches, just to make sure that that's all confirmed. And we're going to try and get those done as well as an FC on launch date. So we're going to try and get as many of our FC team together and actually run them as an FC, which will
I'm going to stream.
Yeah, and they're going to get uploaded to YouTube as well. Just I'll be recording them and things like that. So plenty of content that we're going to be doing. Like I say, you're going to get a video every day from me, just giving my thoughts on what I've done the day previous, and what the plan is going forward. Mr. Marfy, is there any content that you're going to be doing over the launch period?
It is more streaming than anything else. Obviously, like I said, I will be redoing my tank guide for newer players, but I might not do that until I've got my Gunbreaker ready. But just a lot of streaming and just talking about what I've experienced so far. So what I will experience.
If you're going to be streaming, or do you want to tell people where they can find you on Twitch?
Yeah, it will be on Twitch, and it is exactly the same as everything else. It's Mr_Marfy on Twitch, and it's the same with Twitter.
So you can find me on Twitter at OistyTFFXIV. I'm going to start trying to post a little bit more on there. You can find me on Twitch. I can't remember what my name is on Twitch. I think it's just OistyT. But I think we might also look at maybe setting up a Good Evening Eorzea streaming, so that then I can stream or Mr. Marfy can stream if I'm not streaming, and vice versa.
Yeah.
But we'll put all those details out on Twitch and on Twitter as well. And I'm sure that once I do my Day Zero video, I'll be able to give you all that information as well. We're also looking for podcast hosts as well. We're looking at Acast and SoundCloud, but at the moment the cost is prohibitive. So if you are listening and you want to get in touch and maybe put some Patreon money towards us, we're going to try and sort out our Patreon as well. Whether or not that actually gets up and running beforehand will all depend on how much time I have. But apart from that, there's nothing further on this fortnight's episode of Good Evening Eorzea.
No, we're done. No,
we're done.
We're done.
Well, for those people who are listening, we hope you have a good launch weekend. Just will not speak to you before that, until after the launch weekend even. So, good early access. I hope everything goes to plan. I hope we don't have any Rawborn or Pippin Savages. But in the meantime, thank you for listening and goodbye.
Yes, and happy Shadowbringers for next time.
Wow.
Happy Shadowbringers.
Goodbye, everyone.
See you later. Bye.
Right. 3, 2, 1.